Hello everyone, I'm Robert Hisee. Most of you will know me, but for you that don't, I'm the UK's #1 unconscious mind therapist. And welcome to the MindKite podcast. I'm Robert Hisee, the UK's #1 unconscious mind therapist. And welcome to the MindKite podcast. And today we've got a very special guest. She's the first ever world champion female boxer from Scotland. She's just come down 2 weight divisions to welterweight, and she's going for the title welterweight. Is that correct, Hannah?
Yeah, I will be. I'll be going for my goal is obviously world title at welterweight, but obviously this year, yeah.
By the way, I haven't said your name. Miss Hannah Rankin, everybody. Sorry, Anne. Sorry, I jumped straight into conversation there.
No, it's fine. Yeah, obviously my goal is I want to become a 2-weight world champion. So I want to become a world champion at welterweight. So this year we just got down to weight class. First fight done and dusted in March. Really pleased with my performance. It
was amazing.
It was a good fight. I was really happy. Boxed a former 2-weight, 2-time South African champion. So yeah, it was not an easy fight, but it was a good fight, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
So before we go into where we're at now, let's go back to the musician, because like you couldn't get any more fucking contrast than like someone that loves punching someone for a living, you know.
Yeah.
And I felt your punches on the pads. I remember before putting the pads, you hit the right hand by accident. And the hook clipped the pad by accident, hit my chin, and I fucking went, fuck that, getting a clump off you. I remember Joe Long going to me, I won't fight her. I thought, yeah, that's a girl, fuck me, mate, can you hear it? But you're a classical musician.
Yep.
I mean, you come from Scotland. Mm-hmm. Is it on a farm, am I correct by saying that?
Yeah, got a farm.
You brought up on a farm, and you know, you're a country girl. And how does a classical, was it the Royal College of
I went
Music
to Royal Academy of Music.
Royal Academy of Music.
Yeah.
And that's where Elton John went, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like, so you're really well educated. You know, you come from sort of, I'd say, middle class background. Would you say? Was it? I don't
Probably
know.
working class.
Working class. Okay, working class
yeah.
background. Okay, but nicely in the country of Scotland.
Yeah.
And how did that start? I can't wait to hear the story from how you could come from music, classical music, travelling the world as a musician, into being an absolute savage in the ring and love eating people and hurting people. It's just such a contrast. So how did it all start, Anna? How did it all start for you? You know, just a bit about Scotland and growing up. What was it like on a farm? And
yeah, so I grew up on the west coast of Scotland, in a little place called Loch Lomond. A lot of people know Loch Lomond because it's absolutely stunning. It's one of the most beautiful parts. I'm not biased at all.
No.
But then I will also say, like, when it's sunny in Scotland, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else in the world. There's only like
Really?
5 days of the year that happens. So, yeah, no. But I grew up on a sheep farm in Loch Lomond, and yeah, no, it's just been me and my 2 sisters, in the middle of nowhere. Literally, we're the end of the glen. There's nobody else there but us at the very end. And I grew up with my neighbour being about half an hour away.
Seriously?
Yeah, literally middle of nowhere.
So you're okay with the dark and that?
Oh, I don't mind the dark, no. Like, obviously, closest thing to me was a sheep, let's be honest. So I wasn't really worried about that. But grew up loads of animals around me, and yeah, obviously had to work hard on the farm as well as going to school. And me and my sisters went to the local primary school, Luss Primary. And when I was there was 21 kids in the whole school. So, you know, you're talking real rural sort of situation. I was the only one in my class for like 4 years. So, you know, we only had 2 classrooms in the primary school. There was a little classroom for primary 1, 2 and 3, and then a big classroom for primary 4, 5 and 6. So, real rural setting. I think my family knew from a young age that I was never going to go into farming. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't what I was interested in. My 2 sisters, on the other hand, they're both in the farming world still now and being very successful, very independent, strong ladies. We'll get onto them in a minute, but yeah, no, so I always loved music and ended up following that as my dream.
How did you love classical music? How did you get, was it?
My granddad was a music teacher and a head teacher, actually. So both my grandparents are teachers. And my mum and her 2 sisters, my aunts, they all play musical instruments. So my mum was really good at the piano, she played the cello, she also picked up the French horn later on when I was older. So, like, music has always been a big part of the family, always encouraged to sing songs. There's a lot of embarrassing stories of me as a little kid being at other people's houses and entertaining everybody singing songs, you know. I'm just mortified about it. But, yeah, no, so music's always been a huge part of my life and something that I've always enjoyed.
And was there any fighting about in them days? Did you not fight as a kid? Was you?
Me and my sisters fought, like cat and dog.
Yeah.
My mum, to help counteract this, encouraged. Like, obviously, we were super active into all sports, you know, taking part in everything. We were always encouraged to do whatever we wanted to do when it came to sports or extracurricular things. Probably to try and get rid of some of our energy. But me and my sisters used to fight all the time, especially me and Emma. So my mum enrolled us into taekwondo. So we both competed in taekwondo when we were quite young. And
did you like that as well?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Did you do well with that, Hannah?
Pardon?
Did you do well with it?
Yeah, I did well. I was 3 off my black belt, actually. Me and my sister, like, we loved it, and we used to do all the competitions and things. And I was just really drawn to, like, the sort of discipline of it, you know, and, like, the excitement of learning all the cool techniques. And also I thought, like, Mr. Mahoney was my teacher, and I thought he was the coolest guy I'd ever met in my whole life. You know, he used to turn up and train us. I just thought, oh, this guy is so cool. So... But yeah, I gave it up actually when I started the flute and I wanted to go down the music route. My mum didn't want me to get injured doing that if I was going to do music. So I kind of gave it up and I went down the music route, started playing the flute actually is what I started on. And then an old lady donated a bassoon, which was my principal study now. It's a big bass wind instrument, donated it to the school, weird looking thing. And everybody else was playing the flute and the violin, and I thought, you know what?
I want that.
I want that. So we'll be different, yeah. So I said, I'll take it. I'll do it. And I was about 15 at the time. And it turned out to be the instrument for me. It was just the one. I've always done weird stuff like that, you know. I want to do that. And
impulsive, just go with it.
Yeah, so in secondary school, and that's actually what kick-started my career into music. I went to the junior Conservatoire of Scotland, and then I went straight into the full senior Conservatoire of Scotland to do my undergraduate with honours there. I'm focusing on the bassoon. And then I moved to London to do my masters at the Royal Academy of Music.
How did that feel when you enrolled in that? You must have felt well proud. The family must have been proud.
Absolutely, and so I'm a bit different from the rest of my family. I love the city. I've always wanted to live in the city. Like I think probably living in the middle of nowhere is probably going to be that.
I suppose, as a young lady.
And I just wanted to see more people and see the world basically. And music allowed me that opportunity.
You travelled around the world doing it, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been to crazy places. India, Mauritius, right up in the Himalayas. I've taught music up there, all around Europe. And yeah, it's just, I've had some amazing experiences actually.
And you still do it now, don't you? Because you said even last Wednesday just gone, you was up in the clock tower in...
Yeah, St Pancras.
St Pancras, actually doing a concert up there.
Yeah, so obviously music's my first love, and I think everyone thinks because I do boxing that I've given up my music career.
It's mad, don't you? You come back from punching someone in the face for 5 rounds and battering, and then then going to do a little bit of music in the clock tower.
Yeah. I mean, there's something special about performing, and that's what I really love about it, you know. But
you know what I love about music? The timing. And I think that must really help you in your boxing with your shots and feeling the rhythm of, because a lot of boxers when I've grown up when I boxed as a kid, some people say they've got no timing. Do you know what I mean? And they can't find it.
It's like an inner rhythm that you've got in yourself, and that's why they say like boxing is quite close to dancing. You know, it's a real skill, technique, and the timing and rhythm is everything. It's what makes it exciting. So. And also having to figure out somebody else's timing, you know, like, you know, when you're in the ring, that's another part of it as well.
Yeah, picking up their timing, what rhythm they're working at.
So music's really helped me in that. And people think, oh, why would you do boxing if you're doing music? They're nothing alike. But actually,
they've got a lot of rhythm.
They've got a lot of things in common, like the rhythm thing, but also it's about performing.
Practice.
It's performing at the end of the day. I get to get up there and entertain people. Which is the exciting part. You know, you're under the lights, whether it's on stage or you're in the boxing ring. You're under the lights, you've got to showcase what you can do, and the pressure is on. So it's exciting.
So, from the Royal Academy of Music, well, Elton John went as well.
He was there as well.
Is it quite spoke about in there? Must be a big thing in there.
He's legend. So and he'd actually donated an organ to the Royal Academy of Music, a new organ for us, and so it looks amazing. It's fantastic. But I went down there to do my masters, and what a little people don't know about me is actually when I was 10 years old, my very first trip to London, I decided I wanted to live in London when I was 10. I decided that then, and it didn't matter what I was going to do with my career, I would live in London. And so when I got the place, I was the only one accepted on bassoon in my year at the Royal Academy of Music. And when I got the place, I was buzzing because that fulfilled my goal of wanting to live in London. and I moved to London to do a master's. So yeah,
Brilliant.
Huge achievement for me at that point.
And what was that from a country girl into the
Everyone panicked I was going to die with the traffic and everything.
What, the fumes are going to kill you, in London?
I was just like, what is wrong with you people? I was so excited, just so excited to it's so much of a buzz, and especially as a musician, there's every type of music going on in London. Also, I can get to anywhere in the world from London to perform, and it's just so much going on. So it was great. Unfortunately, at the same time, when I moved down, I got back after a first term of academy where everything gone really, really well. And I actually got home to find out my mum was really sick. She'd been diagnosed with cancer at that point. Just after that, but it actually leads into the boxing thing, because I was doing it for fitness. I was just doing it for fun and helping keep me sort of active and in the gym. And I met my coach Noel and Sweet D, Derek Williams, heavyweight boxer. So really got into it. But then when I got home and found out this about my mum, she made me go back to uni. She said, "You're not going to stay at home and be with me while I'm sick or anything like this." And I was, of course, really worried. But boxing became a sort of a lifeline for me, because music was what I had a connection with my mum. So uni became quite hard for me, very emotional for the music side of things.
Because of the triggers of it.
The boxing, I had a family in the boxing world that wasn't associated with my mum, and also somewhere I could let out all my frustrations and anger and upset, and tire myself out so much so that I wasn't thinking about my mum and stressing.
Through the grieving, so it helps you grieve at first.
Yeah, because she passed away 6 months later, and it was a really rapid, it was very bad. And boxing was there for me at a very difficult time in my life, and actually helped me to get through all of that. And I think that's probably why, when I went professional in boxing and where I've got to now, I've managed to achieve so much, because I feel that I really owe the sport something for what it gave me when I really needed help. And just why I want to be as successful as I possibly can be in it, really, because I feel like I owe it to give it my best shot, for my mum and also for what it did for me. So that's probably how I got into it.
And that's amazing. And when you even say, even now when you walk into a fight, me and your friends, we talk a lot, and you said sometimes you feel like spirit as you walk in. It's sort of the boxing connection. She's always with you. Always
with me. Like, she's always there on the walkout. I know she's with me, standing right beside me. And whenever I get in the ring, I know and I always go. We have a little routine and a ritual. My coach knows, and wherever I am in the world, I'll try and get to a church before the fight, or I'll speak to her in a quiet place. But I always chat to my mum wherever I am, somewhere before the fight, because I know she's listening. I know she's watching me, willing me on to do well.
I get that feeling with Dave. It's been 10 years this May. This year's going to be a big year for me. 10 years, I can't believe it. And I get that feeling sometimes. I feel like he's present.
Yeah.
But it's a sad thing. But
it's also kind of like reassuring. It's kind of nice, because they're there. Like, there's nothing. No one can tell you otherwise. So
it's true. Yeah, it's your sad thing, isn't it? It's your own personal thing.
Exactly.
And so, mum passing, you going through into the boxing. It's mad, isn't it? I always find in life, with the mind, it's always something that's really to do with death that really elevates people. It's really a weird and wonderful thing to people to start putting their focus on a bit, because women get cancer and they'll have their breasts off and have new breast inductions, and all of a sudden they're like, fuck, they face death, and they see that in their mind they've gone through the experience of visualising themselves dying and experiencing what the kid's not been in anything. They fuck the husband off, because he ain't been keeping him happy for the last 4 years, 5, 10 years, whatever. They go and meet a younger geezer, they start jumping out of airplanes, they start running marathons, they start opening their own business, and they become more inspirational, and they enjoy, they could be like in their mid-40s or early 50s, and then all of a sudden they find the enlightenment of life. They think, what have I been doing? And it's just through that facing death that allowed that. And like yourself, when you your mum passed away, it led you into this dark place where boxing was there for you, and now you've been the first woman fucking world champion from Scotland.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be 2-time world champion at welterweight. It's definitely coming. It ranked your first fight, you've made such a noise, beating her so, one way, in your favour, that they've ranked you number 5 already, haven't they?
WBA ranked me 5 and WBC ranked me 3.
You look powerful in that division, and all.
I know. I feel I feel great at
They're going to have to
welterweight.
start eating their chicken, I'm telling you.
I feel great at the weight. You know, it's obviously a bit more
so
of
strong at it,
a hard journey to get there because you've got to cut more weight to get down to it. But I actually felt really good, and I did the weight cut really well. So, you know, and I really do believe that a lot of things in life are mind over matter. If you believe you're going to be successful and you believe that you're going to achieve what you set out to do, you know, it makes such a difference. Like, so for me, losing the weight, there was no part of me that thought I would not make welterweight. And everybody said to me, oh, you're coming from middleweight, it's 2 weight classes higher. Are you not worried that you're not gonna be able to do it, you're not gonna get down there, it's gonna be a struggle, it's gonna be hard? I was like, no, because I've decided I'm gonna do it. So it's no different to anything else. I've decided I'm going to do it, and that's what's going to happen.
And
I think that makes such a difference.
I've worked with a lot of boxers, and I always, when I first started learning the mind, I always had a love for boxing. I always thought I'd work with a world champion one day, and weirdly enough, I never thought it'd be a woman. I'm not being sexist, because back then you didn't watch people like Katie Taylor and people like, there weren't women boxing really. Like, I liked it, but you know, it weren't there. And so it's mad how, like, me and you have come across each other, and we've been working together now for a while, and you know, I've got to honestly say, you put more into it than any other sports person I think I've worked with. Like, you actually, like you do your boxing, like you do your music, you really hyper focus on something and you give everything. So, and it shows you what world champions are made of, because if anyone knows you, like, you're the most loveliest person you ever meet, you know, music, you deep conversations, you're chatty. I mean, but in that ring, you switch into a fucking animal. I've seen the look in your eyes, I think, fuck that. Because you whatever you do properly. And I think because you give it your all and you apply yourself, and how hard you work on the mind, people would be shocked the amount of discipline and time you put into the mind as you do the gym, you know, because, and I think behind all great champions is a great mindset. Yeah.
You've got to really work at it. It's not just, it's amazing what we've been talking about and what I've learned along the way. It's just like, to think of it like it's another muscle that you've got to work. Yeah. And if you're not working it, it's not going to be as helpful for you later on if you've not actually put the time and effort into it. So you can't expect to suddenly be there when you need it.
That's right. I mean, that's what I say. A lot of fighters, I say, you all work the body. Yeah. You don't work the mind. Like, a lot of travellers I used to box with, they'd have rabbit foots and shit for luck. I'm like, well, fucking ain't gonna help you. I mean, it'll help you to, like, it's got a placebo effect, but fuck me, you know. Come on, you got to get that. You got to start working your mind. So you can't have a mind without a body. You can't have a body without a mind. They're part of the same thing. Yeah. So you know, you've got to work them thoughts. And you listen to all the great champions, like, you know, it's either the fighter who's got a great mindset, like Tyson Fury, or it'd be their coach that gives them the great mind, who uses their great mindset, gives them the toolkit, like Mike Tyson with Custom Motto. Yeah. Amazing. Johnny Nelson with Brendan Ingle, and all the other guys, all out of there was Brendan Ingle, teaching them the belief and stuff, you know, because, you know, we're not lucky enough to always be born with vision, but someone can teach you vision over a period of time. And I always loved
how to approach it as well. Yeah.
I always love it when Johnny Nelson said that he was sparring the French champion, and when he came outside, it was raining. He started beating him up all the time, and he waved at me. Got in a limousine back in the early '90s. A beautiful woman going back to a beautiful house, and I'm going to this poxy little shit room, and I thought, that's it, I'm never losing again. Yeah. Then he'd become undefeated WBO champion. He's still got the world record for it. So it's just always remarkable. You always get that same thing where you know, people build their mindset, and others just have it. Some luck, you know, you get the old, like Tyson Fury, but I'm sure he has to work it still. He has to remain, put his focus on the positivity and where he's going. And like, you do really apply, you do the breathing, you do your visualizations, you do your meditation, you do, like, you know, and your thought process around it. I mean, we're getting, actually, I'm even taking it to another level working with you, because like, we really now getting detailed, aren't we? We're breaking stuff down, because I ain't got to think about teaching you anything. You know it all. It's like, right, where are we going to go with it now? And let's go into
this. It's exciting.
Yeah. And then
I really enjoy it because it's something new to really work at. Like, you know, when you go to the gym and you're doing your press-ups or you're doing whatever you're doing in your strength training, and you know what it's working and you know what part of your body is working. But when you're doing the mind, it's not like that. It's not visual. It's not so easy to look at or to see exactly what you're doing. So you've really got to start opening all the doors up and like taking all the information in, and it's a different kind of work, but it's very satisfying.
It's fine, the feelings different. The feelings the thing, isn't it?
And how you implement techniques and stuff for managing situations, you know, like boxing, everyone always says 90% mental.
Yeah,
right?
it's true. All sports, I'd say that's true.
Exactly, and like I work quite a lot with Gary Jacobs when I'm home in Scotland, and he's like my uncle. He's part of the team, and but a fantastic boxer, fought some of the greats, and just one of my favourites really. But he always said, there's always a point in a fight. You have one fight, in a couple of fights in your life where you want to have to look through the door, and if you look through the door and you're not able to go through the door, in the fight and push through into that hard zone where you've never been before, then not everybody can go through that door. And that's what all this mental training's for. It's
to get through the door.
Yeah, to get you through the door at the point when life is really hard and it's suddenly you're not happy. You're in a dangerous place. You're
feeling the pain.
You're in pressure.
You want to get out of there.
Yeah, and it's whether or not you can take that step through the door and deal with the situation or not. And either you're prepped for it or you're not.
It's that vision, isn't it? It's that vision of even at your lowest. Like when Fury went down, you could still see yourself getting up and winning.
Exactly.
That is something you have to practice. Some people it's like people become millionaires. Some like 1 in a billion might find a pot of gold.
Yeah.
That's the lucky one. That's the same with fighters. But the majority of them have to work on their mindsets, and
also I think as well when you go in the ring, I as a person, I like to know if I'm going to do something, I've done everything I possibly could to prepare myself for that situation. So everyone always says to me, Hannah, you're very calm in fight week. You're very laid back and you're very chilled. And even so, when I get my heart rate checked, I'm always super calm. And the doc's always like, okay,
you should be a bit. You should be a little bit. Yeah.
And I'm not, because I know my mentality is that I couldn't have done any more in my training, physical or mental, to prepare myself for this situation. If I'd slacked on something like my diet, or I slacked on my my training in other parts of it, and I hadn't really pushed myself hard enough, then I'd be stressed. That's when I'd be stressed in fight week, and I'd be worried because I feel like I wouldn't have worked hard enough. And I think that's my mentality towards anything I'm doing. It's the same for my music. If I'm practicing something for a concert or something like that, I want to go into that concert and feel good, knowing that I've put in my hours of practice and knowing that I'm going to do the best to my ability of what I can do in that time. So it's the same thing for boxing. And I don't understand why people would cut corners on any part of their training, because I would hate that horrible little voice in my head to come in just before the fight, being like, but you didn't do that,
did you? Yeah, you should have worked harder. He told you to work on the jab. Yeah.
Exactly. So I like to cover all those bases, and that's maybe me being a bit of a control freak, but I like to make sure that I put as much as I can into it.
You put in what you get at. If you'll be a world champion, you've got to train like a world champion.
Absolutely.
That's the fucking difference, isn't it? You can't train like a British champion and become a world champion. It's impossible. And I think what I've learned is for great sports people, they always raise the standards. Yeah. It's like, you're not going to be done. What's next? Let's go. Yeah. You always want to raise your standards. Where we're going to go for the next one? And, you've got your vision. I fucking love it, because I know it's coming true. I can feel it so much because,
you visualise it with me.
I do. I'm with you. Yeah. I mean, your last fight was phenomenal, and the next fight, if it's in South Africa, I'm coming with you.
Yeah.
Wherever it is. Wherever it is, I'm going to come to the next one, because hopefully the flights can be. I was gutted at the last one. I was watching it. I could be there. She had the MindKite. Robert Hisee MindKite podcast on the front there, didn't you? Yep, it was
brilliant.
Pride of
place.
Proud of that.
Yeah, there's all the t-shirts as well. It's going to be the next kit as well. It's going to look great.
So when you think of your next steps, you want to get to a world title. Mm-hmm. I know that's you ain't going to stop till you get there. I know that already. Yeah. You've come in ranked at number 5 already, which is phenomenal. You've shook up the whole division. So so that's your vision for now. I know that. Yeah, you're going to do that. That's going to be done, and I can't wait to watch it unfold. So everyone stay tuned, because it's coming. But what after that would you ever see yourself doing in the future? And is there anything you see yourself doing after the...
What, after boxing?
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't want to put an end date on my boxing career, because...
No, of course not. You never know.
And also, I think people that put an end date on those sort of things, you're always subconsciously working towards that
ending.
time you put on.
Yeah, no, definitely
so
don't do that.
Never want to do that. But after that, I'd love to work in commentary. I'd like to do some Sky Sports commentary or something like that. I'm a real... a lot of people would say I'm a bit of a geek about the sport.
Well, I remember the first time I come down Churchill's gym, I went, oh, and there's Hannah. She went, oh, the geek, she's in there. I was like, what? I got the geek. I went in then.
Yeah, no, proper geek.
It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah, and actually, I love that.
That makes you look at things though like, is it geeky or is it just obsession? You know,
I think it's a bit of obsession.
It's obsession, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like what did Conor McGregor say? There's no such thing as talent. There's only obsession.
It's true.
Isn't there? And it is. The person more obsessed at what they do becomes the best at what they do. It's as simple as that. And you are fucking obsessed with it. So
yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to do some commentary. I was lucky enough to do some work with Box Nation before, so I commentated for the Clarissa Shields, Christina Hamer fight. Yeah, but I wasn't sure.
She's your pal now, isn't she? You feel very tired of her, aren't you?
I wasn't sure if they were going to ask me about the heavyweight fights beforehand, so I'd researched them as well and watched their fights. But thanks, Steve Buds did ask me any of that, so I was quite happy. But I think we could do more female commentators, especially in boxing, and especially as women's boxing is on a huge rise at the moment. I really
do you think the UFC brought that out a little bit, and that made it a bit more, because you get a lot of UFC women fighters. Do you think that's like made people relax around boxing because it was?
No, I think actually it's been this last. Weirdly, the pandemic has actually had one positive effect, and it has actually been for women's boxing. We're probably the only female sport that's benefited from this sort of scenario, because Eddie Hearn took a risk and he jumped on the idea with Matchroom and Sky Sports that actually we're going to showcase some female fights. I don't know if that was a great business decision of his or whatever, but financially, but as far as I'm concerned, it was one of the best moves he's ever made, because what he chose to do was put on female title fights, high level, sort of elite level fights, and he had a captive audience at home. So suddenly we've got people sitting at home dying to watch live sport. Normally when it's the women's fight, they're like, oh, I'm going to go to the bar. But they can't, because it's the only option on TVs. And actually people they're starting to talk about it now. And I've got people where I live asking me about the women's fights. And that's the general public, and it's been a huge rise this year. Big shift. And people are like, oh, those girls, they just go nuts. They go nuts for it for 10 rounds, and it's just, women's boxing's 2-minute rounds, not 3 minutes. So it's a fast pace. People get excited about it. And women fighters, we bring it 100% every single time. I don't think there's been a boring female fight on any of the cards. Savannah and I, we won Dramatic Fight of the Year from the WBC, and Terry Harper, Natasha Jonas, that was amazing to watch. Katie Taylor, all of these women have been up there, and we've all put on a great performance, and it's literally grasped the public's attention, and people are now interested in it. So now we need to build on that and get more women involved on the other aspects of the sport, so like commentary, for example. So that's kind of where I'm aiming for, to get involved with that, so then I can also champion other women, but then also be involved in the sport as a whole and talk about the guys' fights as well.
And who's your favourite boxers and why? Who have you got?
So my absolute favourite is Arturo Gatti.
Yeah, you like the tear up, didn't you?
I love the tear. I love the fight.
Stepping forward.
Yeah, obviously him and Mickey Ward, their trilogy is just insane. But what I really like about Gatti is that people always got their money's worth when they came to see him, and I kind of want to emulate that. People never say that I'm in a boring fight. Do you know what I mean? And I want to be known as that person that's never in a boring fight. And it's always exciting to watch. And I know HBO always used to love to, or Golden Boy, I can't remember who it was, they used to love to put Gatti on, because it didn't matter if he won, lost, draw.
Yeah, it was going to be a tear-up.
And
like Nigel Benn, wasn't it? It was people like that, them sort of fighters.
Exactly, those kind of fighters are the ones that people love, because you don't really care whether they win or lose. You just want to see them put on a great performance and be excited about it. And so I love Arturo Gatti. I think he's amazing. And
he died, his wife killed him, didn't he?
Yeah, there's still some
Vegas.
Not sureness about that, but yeah, it could have been. It most likely was her.
Did she not stab him in the bath?
I don't know. Something crazy happened
in Vegas. Las Vegas, yeah.
It's really sad, because he was amazing.
Just retired a few years and she jerks it. And who's the other one died on a motorbike out there? Because Fort Mayweather, he was a good fighter. Into Hisee, I can't think of his name, Mexican name. He died on a motorbike in Vegas, and there's been a few tragedies in boxing.
Yeah. He's one of them. I absolutely, I love Mike Tyson. I've got to love. I don't like.
Brilliant.
Just what he did at such a young age was amazing, but also just his intimidation and like the fear factor. He was just an animal.
You know what I loved about Tyson? When he used to walk in with his just a towel cut over his head.
Yeah.
Black shorts, black boots with no socks. You couldn't see the socks. He'd walk in, no flashiness, nothing. He just looked like he'd just get in there, bang, iron him out, wouldn't smile, get out of the ring. It was like, I loved that. I loved that about Tyson. He just got the job done. There weren't no showboating. And also the way Customato trained him. I love the mindset behind Customato, as he says, you know, like Customato had most trainers. Tyson said that most trainers would have gone like, you know, stay away from his jab. He's small, you know. He's got the best jab in the business. He said, but Cuss wouldn't. Cuss would go, that jab's weak. And I'd go to Cuss, how's that weak? He's got one of the best jobs in the heavyweight division you're in. That's why it's weak. It's so predictable.
Everybody knows it.
It's so predictable. It's so fast and straight. It was going to come underneath, and he taught him that little bounce thing, didn't he? He should jump.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, it was just dangerous, wasn't he? Once he popped underneath, the chin would come up and body head normally, wouldn't it? Or a little uppercut in there and down they go. And my favourite knockout of all time would probably got to be Trevor Berbick. When Tyson does him and he's like a baby giraffe, he's over, he gets up, he goes over he gets
again,
up.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. Who's your favourite knockout puncher of all time, would you say?
Probably McClellan. Gerald McClellan.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was impressive. Yeah, I would have to go with that one.
Go with him.
Yeah.
I'd like to say my one is his name Joe. My brain's gone dead. Oh, whatever you wait. How come your brain gone dead like that? I can't believe that. Black and white times. That's going to do it. I can't believe I forgot it. My ADHD's kicked right in. Anna, I forget. Okay,
Joe
come
Louis?
back to me.
Joe
Louis. That's it, Joe Louis. You've hit now on the head. Joe Louis, what's the black and white knockouts? All these knockouts, not like Tyson would knock them out, but they'd be like still moving. They'd be sort of like getting up. They're like stunned and like zombie. Like they were still moving, if you know what I mean, yeah? But Joe Louis, when he used to hit him, he used to, and you watch his knockouts, he don't even move his arms. All his knockouts are from like, they're just like shoulder turns. It's them little shots, he comes up and they're just like that, and they go, and they're gone, the comatose. So anyone at home, if you like watching knockouts, watch Joe Louis and great, watch his knockouts, phenomenal. And little shots, look out for the little shots where he just gets a little walk, there's no movement of the arm, it's just little twists and they just, boom, unbelievable. Eyes roll. Yeah, comatose them. So, as a boxer, what would you give anyone coming up in the game now? Any like young girls who are getting into it, who like to fight and you know they love the passion for it? What information would you give them? What if they want to do it? Because you always say to me all the time, you can't play boxing. You see people come in the gym playing boxing. They look good on the bag. They get a clump, you never see them again. Or you know, would have a few little fights and then that's it. What would you say about being a realist with boxing? What have these young girls got to expect to get in there? And
I think so. For myself, for my career, I took myself all around the place. I used a lot of my own personal funding, obviously, to get myself to all different places to spar with some of the best female fighters, because I think that's the best way to learn. Throw yourself in there with the wolves, and you know you're either going to come out or you're not. You need to find out what you need to learn, and to improve yourself the best, you want to be with the best, and that's something that I've always advocated. Don't be afraid to get in there and try, because otherwise you'll never learn.
Yes.
So you know you've got to push yourself in training and push yourself.
And how about when people take their first clump?
Is
that something you can sort of give them any knowledge on that, or is it something that's either in them or not?
Yeah, it's in you or not. Like either you want to fight, you don't want to fight, and there's something you can't really work with. That is or isn't, you know. But boxing's one of those things. Like either you have a passion for it, and like if someone hits you, you're like, oh, actually, I want to get going. Get back. So it depends on your nature and who you are as a person. But the other thing I will say is, as a female fighter especially, get a great team around you of people that you trust and people that want the same things that you want and are going to support you in your goals and your ambitions, but also going to be realists. You know, they're going to tell you how it is. Yeah. You don't want to have people blowing smoke up your ass. You just do not need that.
Yeah, so you do get that a lot, don't you, in a lot of sports. People,
absolutely.
They think they're in a...
Have people that you can trust and talk to and have the same goals and dream as big as you do as well. You don't want people around you going, oh, we won't take that, it's too difficult. You know, if you want to push on and push yourself, get people around you that are going to help you, but also give you realistic responses as well.
And what sort of things you say to yourself, you're so motivated, it's unreal. What sort of things you say to yourself on a daily basis when you feel tired, or, you know, what is it that you do that you separates you? Like, is it, you know, is it just...
So I think becoming Scotland's first ever female world champion was a massive thing for me. I made history for my country.
And you've got to hold that now, so
yeah.
you've got to carry in it with your like, pride, yeah.
And also it just, like, you know, I have parents asking me questions about their young daughters now coming through in the sport. And I feel like when you become a world champion, whether or not, you know, you stay at that weight, you become world champion again or whatever, you have an obligation to the sport. You have an obligation to people who are coming through to be able to give them some sort of like help and advice and showcase how you think it should be done, and you know, work hard, because you know you've got people looking up to you, and if you've got to put the work in every day, because they're wanting to be inspired by you, and they're thinking of maybe following the same route. So that always gives me motivation in the gym, is because there's always somebody younger looking up at you, male or female, watching what you're doing and seeing where you're going to go, and that drives me to be successful, and it drives me to want to be the best that I can be, so someone can look at me and go, I can do that. Yeah, and it inspires them to get out there. And the days when it's hard work, like that's what kind of drives me on a little bit.
This is the days. How do you get through them days when it's really hard? Is it just like, is it a mental thing, like fuck you?
It's a mental thing.
You're fighting yourself, like fuck you, I ain't going down today.
Yeah, it is a mental thing. Like you.
I see Goggins. He says something about when he goes for a run, he goes like fucking marathons are down all that and that. You know David Goggins?
Yeah,
he's a lunatic. But he goes, do you think I enjoy myself? Do you think I get up in the morning and think I can't wait to go for a 6 mile run in the rain today? Why it's minus? He said, do I fuck? He said, look at them trainers. I think, I don't want to go for a run. He said, but that makes me go, fuck you, I'm going for a run. He said, because when I come back in the door, I hate putting my trainers on, mate. I'm not enjoying it. But when I get off and I take them off, I'm like, yeah, I've done ya, fuck you. And I've already beat a part of myself to become even stronger. I
think that's the important thing, is like, it's like a little personal victory. So it doesn't matter what level you're at, whenever you're doing any sort of exercise, whether you're like a professional athlete or something, or if you're just Joe Bloggs going for a run down the street and trying to psych yourself up. It's like, it's a personal achievement when you get yourself up, because nobody wants to go all the time. There's times when I wake up and I'm absolutely shattered. I do not want to go for a run, and it's pissing down with rain, and I'm thinking it's going to be horrible. But it's like, you should be able to challenge yourself. It's not a challenge for anybody else, it's just yourself. And it's like, am I going to do it, or am I going to wimp out of it? And you're like, it's kind of like that sort of like self-talk of, you're not going to wuss out, come on, let's go and get it done. And when you get back in, the endorphins and the sense of satisfaction totally outweighs the whole...
what happened before.
What happened before, the little kind of, oh my God, I don't want to do it.
Does that sometimes become an habit on itself, do you think? Like, the habit of beating yourself becomes an habit in the end, like...
Yeah, I'm mega competitive with myself, like, about what I want to do. Like,
I love you said that, because I used to play golf, and I got into single figures for a while, and I don't play no more, but that much. But that's what I learned through golf as well. You're playing yourself. There ain't no opponent, really. Even with boxing, the opponent's you, because you're the one that's got to miss their shots. Ain't them hitting you. That's the idea. That's like going swimming without getting... You can't go swimming without getting wet. You're going to get fucking punched. But it's like you're missing the shots, and then you're landing the shots. It's all about you, isn't it? Everyone thinks it's about I'm fighting someone else. You're fighting yourself. The battle's with what you're doing and how you're reading things. And
someone said to me once, it's not about like not getting hit. It's about getting hit with the shots that are going to do the least damage to you.
Yes,
do you know what I mean? So
because you're going to get hit.
You're going to get hit. It's like,
it's hard to slip off of them.
You want to make sure that you're not taking the big left hook.
You're
catching
a few little jabs.
That's cool. That's fine. You know, and this is a good way to think about it, because if you're trying to be perfect and never get hit, then
delusional.
It's
even the best get hit. Don't even Mayweather gets a couple of clumps.
But it is a like a competition with yourself. And I think that's probably an attribute that I have, is that I'm able to be competitive with myself, like on what I want to be able to achieve with my own time. Because I feel very much like whenever I'm doing something, you should appreciate the time that you have to do that. Because if you get into a situation where suddenly it's taken away from you, so like say you get an injury or something and you can't go for those runs, then all you want to do is go for a run, isn't it?
Exactly.
So when you are able to do it, and even if the weather is horrible and you don't want to go, it's that little moment of, okay, I appreciate the fact I can go, because when I can't, I'll miss it.
Yeah.
I'll miss it more, you know, and that's another way I'll try and like psych myself up, you know, because I'll be like, if you had a broken foot, you'd want to be out.
It's true, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, so that's reframing, isn't it? Reframing the way you look at things. You always look at two ways. That's a good way of doing it, and I like that.
Yeah.
And also I want to put a big shout out to my man Joe Long. He's like the Clarence Avon of the fight game, if you won't know him, but he is. Everyone knows Joe.
Yeah.
And he put me and my good friend Anna together, and we're like family now. It's been amazing working with you, and I'm loving it.
Joe.
Big shout out to Joey boy. And I'm loving working with you, Anna, and I can't wait to continue to see you with that belt round you again. And that's going to be sensational.
It's going to be someday. I can't wait.
So thank you for coming on the MindKite podcast, and I love you very much, mate. And I'm hoping I can get out there with you on the next one.
Absolutely.
Flights are going. I'm going to be out South Africa with my champ. So, Rankin, Bombay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week at the MindKite podcast.